It's Heretic here. I hope you guys enjoyed the story. It was written by Jonathan Paranada. And so he was nice enough to let me put the story in the intro for you guys. And now we're going to look at the deck, and that is Mew World Order. And so this is, I'm going to start out. We got 2 Jirachi EXs, search supporter cards, since this is an expanded deck. We've got 4 copies of Mew EX, as you would expect. The deck is called Mew World Order. We are focusing on Mew EX as our primary attacker and our only attacker. So versatile, his ability allows it to copy the attacks of all Pokemon in play on both sides as long as you have the appropriate energy attached. We run 4 copies. Next, 1 copy of Shaman EX, used for setup when you play it from your hand, onto your bench, draw until you have 6 cards in your hand. Good alternative way to draw cards outside of supporters. Next, two copies of Rayquaza EX, whose intensifying burn attack for 1 colorless energy deals 10 damage plus 50 more damage if your opponent's active Pokemon is a Pokemon EX. He also has Dragon Pulse 100 for 3 colorless, but that will not be relevant here. We also play Hoopa EX, which lets us pull up to 3 Pokemon EX from our deck when we play it from our hand. And as we get into our item cards, we got a Startling Megaphone to discard all Pokemon tools on our opponent's side of the field. And then we also have a Super Scoop Up. Just a 1-of, flip a coin if heads. You know, you guys know how that works. Retrieve a Pokemon off your board with everything attached to it. 2 Battle Compressors to be able to condense our deck, discard supporters for use with VS Seeker, and just get out any dead cards we might not want. 1 Tool Scrapper in the same vein as Startling Megaphone, however this can also take Team Flare tools off of our Pokemon, so discarding potentially less tools overall, but more versatility there. 4 VS Seekers to retrieve supporter cards, pretty much mandatory in just about every deck except for Vileplume. 1 Buddy Buddy Rescue, allowing each player to put a Pokemon from his or her discard pile into his or her hand. And then we have 4 Ultra Balls, of course, so we can discard 2 cards, search your deck for any Pokemon you want. First turn Hoopa is always pretty solid. Just make sure you get the Pokemon you want whenever you need it. 1 Pokemon Catcher for a Lysander effect without having to play a supporter. Drawback being, of course, relies on a coin flip. Oh, we remember the days when it didn't. 1 Eco Arm, shuffling 3 Pokemon tools from the discard back into the deck. This deck runs a lot of Pokemon tools. From Team Flare tools to just regular old Pokemon tools that we put on our Pokemon. And lots of different ones. 4 Professor Juniper, discard your hand and draw 7. It's pretty basic. 3 copies of Skyla. Search our deck for another supporter for next turn. Happens with this deck more than you might think. You can also get those 1-of item cards out of the deck when you need them. Just being able to get whatever you want. Dimension Valley is also a huge part of this deck as well. 3 copies of AZ. So if we get Lysander, if we get, you know, hit with, I don't know, maybe we start with a basic we don't want in the active and we can't retreat it. Maybe we get hit with a Pokemon Catcher or something. Just whatever. Get stuff out of the active. Can also heal damage. 3 copies of N. Really big card in this deck and in the expanded format in particular. Returning to standard soon, forcing both players to shuffle back, shuffle, draw, disruption all in one. Early game for draw, late game for disruption. Just all around fantastic card. 2 copies of Lysander to pick and choose our knockouts if necessary. Just really, really good. 3 Zero Sick. In addition to Startling Megaphone and Tool Scrapper, allowing us to discard a Pokemon tool or special energy attached to any Pokemon in play on either side and discard it. And 1 Alesa, another really powerful card in the deck, allowing us to pull 3 Pokemon tool cards from our deck directly to our hand. And again, as I said, we play a lot of Pokemon tools. We play 3 Dimension Valley, and the idea here is that Mew can then copy Rayquaza EX's Intensifying Burn attack for no energy cost, allowing it to, through its versatile ability, as Rayquaza's Intensifying Burn attack deals 60 damage to Pokemon EX, and only costs 1 colorless, which with Mew would then cost nothing. And then finally, our Pokemon tools, we have Life Dew as our ace spec to slow down how many prizes our opponents get, since all of our Pokemon are Pokemon EX. 2 copies of Floatstone to help get out of the active along with our AZ. 1 Fighting Fury Belt for 10 extra damage and 40 additional HP on our Mew. 1 lucky helmet, so that when something takes a hit, we can draw 2 additional cards. Pretty good early game, or while we're waiting. And then 1 hard charm as well to prevent damage done, to reduce by 20. 2 weakness policy. Since this is built for the mirror match, we are going to try to take away Mew's weakness to itself so that it does not get one-shotted by intensifying burn from an opposing Mew. So, cards like Fighting Fury Belt, Hard Charm, and Weakness Policy to do that. We also play 2 copies of Headringer to make our opponent's Mew have to pay for its attack, which will be a serious issue if they can't deal with it with a Tool Scrapper or Zero Sick or an AZ. And 3 copies of Jamming Net to reduce damage as well, so we do not get OHKO'd. So that's the deck. You may notice we run no energy cards. We are entirely reliant on Mew's versatile ability, copying Rayquaza's intensifying burn as our method of attacking. So anyway, that's the deck, and we're going to get into a match here. Hope you enjoy it. Okay, so Daniel Altavilla is going to be our opponent here, and we are going to play the Mew World Order mirror match. So he's going to go ahead and flip his Pikachu coin to see who goes first here. And we're going to win the coin flip. So do we want to go first? Yeah. Yeah, we'll go ahead and go first. Okay. So let's see what we get here. We get a mulligan. Okay. So he's going to get an extra card. Maybe we can get an end to kind of counter that here. Let's see what's going on. So we're going to wait for him to choose his active Pokemon. There may be a little bit of thinking involved here. So let's see what he does. And he puts his Pokemon down and places prizes. So there's our mulligan, and we will go ahead and shuffle back in and draw a fresh 7 cards. So we're going to get 2 Mews to start. Oh, hooray. So we'll put one down and begin the game. Okay, so he'll get an extra card, and he starts with Hoopa. Alrighty. And it's not like he can't AZ that, so right back to his hand. So we know there's a lot of Flare tools going around here, so probably want to put a Pokemon tool card onto Mew, so we'll go ahead and put the Fighting Fury Belt there. And see what we can do here. We got another Mew, can throw on the bench. And we can play the Skyla here. Let's see if we can't go and grab something here. Might be good to be able to grab some of the draw cards. We'll grab a Juniper. Got some other things we can do here. And so we'll go ahead and pass our turn. See what he does. So he immediately drops a Jamming Net right onto our benched Mew. Since we didn't have a Pokemon tool for that second one, it's kind of rough. So we're going to see an Ultra Ball here. So he's going to discard a Juniper and a Lysander. And let's see what we come up with here. He's going to grab a Mew of his own. And so we see that go onto the bench. And we see a Floatstone onto the Mew, actually, not the Hoopa. We see an AZ onto the Hoopa. Okay, so the Mew comes up front. We see Hoopa go onto the bench. And we're going to see a Scoundrel Ring here. Pull up to 3 Pokemon EX from the deck. And we will see Shaman, Mew, and Rayquaza. So he could get the attack off right here. He would not be knocking us out unless he hits Megaphone or Tool Scrapper, however, so that's at least beneficial. We see a Floatstone go down onto Hoopa, and then the bench Pokemon come down, and Shaman redraws his hand up to 6. So let's see where he goes from here. Just kind of checking out our hand. We've got some options, it looks like, depending on what he does here. He still needs the Dimension Valley, and he would need tool removal. Instead, he's going to retreat into Hoopa. So that's going to be a thing. And we're going to see a pass turn here. We're going to top deck. Ooh, Jirachi EX. Okay, so we can do some crazy stuff here. We might be able to make things happen with Startling Megaphone in our hand now. So let's go ahead and let's see here. If we can get Alesa from the deck with Jirachi, we could Megaphone and then play a whole bunch of Flare tools on his Pokemon. So we're going to go ahead and play Jirachi, and there's Alesa, so we're going to get her out of the deck. And we can go ahead and play her, and let's grab some Flare tools. So what do we got here? We got a Jamming Net, we got a Headringer, and that's it. Ugh, we must have prized 3 of them. Goodness gracious. Oh, that's not good. So, I guess we will just take, let's see here, just take a float stone. Okay, so there's our 3, and so now we can turn around and Megaphone and then hit both his Mews with these Pokemon tools, these Flare tools. So there's one, and we see him say no. He says no. I was afraid of that. Good plays are good. So we'll throw a... I don't know if it's worth throwing a float stone on there. And we don't have the Dimension Valley, so there's not really a whole lot else we can do. We can just pass the turn knowing that, again, he needs tool removal to knock us out. And he would need the Scrapper in particular to take out both the Fury Belt and the Flare Tool from his Mew, as well as hitting the Dimension Valley. So we can just, let's see here, he plays a Battle Compressor. So let's see, we don't have much of a discard pile. We're going to see him throw 3 things that looks like Jirachi. We'll throw some stuff in the discard. And he plays the Dimension Valley down. So interesting there. And he plays a Head Ringer onto Jirachi and a VS Seeker here. So he's going to get a VS Seeker for a sorry, I'm used to saying Sycamore, Professor Juniper. And throws another Flare Tool, a VS Seeker. So we see him toss his hand and see if he gets what he needs here. He really needs that Tool Scrapper. Or another Mew, and Megaphone would actually do the same thing. Not doing anything just yet, so we'll see what happens. Definitely a gutsy play putting that Dimension Valley down. And he's going to pass his turn, so we're picking for gold here. So we can copy his Rayquaza's attack. We don't need one of our own. We can Lysander up the Mew that has the Jamming Net on it. And then simply attack it through Versatile, Mew's ability with Intensifying Burn for a knockout, 140 damage after the weakness and the Fighting Fury Belt, netting ourselves 2 prizes, Life Dew, and the Dimension Valley. Dimension Valley's not really too useful here. So we'll see who he brings up, and if he maybe tries to retaliate that knockout here. He brings up a Mew EX. It does still have a Head Ringer on it, so he needs a Zero Sick or a Tool Scrapper to get rid of that. We'll see if he finds one of those. We see another Mew EX come down from his hand. And let's see, we see a Hard Charm come down onto that benched Mew. And a Professor Juniper once again discarding a whole bunch of stuff. Jirachi and all kinds of stuff in the discard pile there. Rayquaza. And he simply passes his turn again. Yikes. So we can go ahead and play a Versus Seeker here. Grabbing Lysander. Probably pointless in retrospect since we still need to Zero Sick before we can Lysander that thing. So I guess we'll go ahead and we could Zero Sick away the Hard Charm and hope that he doesn't have something else that you can put on there. What do we want to do about that? Man, I guess we'll go ahead and do that. Probably not the smartest play to grab that Lysander, is a little hasty. We'll go ahead and Ultra Ball. We discard Dimension Valley and one of our Junipers. So we can go ahead and have a peek at the deck here, see what's there, and grab Shaman, maybe draw a couple of cards. Okay, so there we go, and we can play Shaman, draw 2, see if we don't get anything, and instead we just get another Lysander. Ugh. So we can just go ahead and use Intensifying Burn, take a knockout here, and if he does not get a way to prevent us from just taking another knockout here, we can just take the other Mew. And so we get 2 Flare Tools off the prizes. Mew comes up into the active spot now. Now he can attack us for sure, but without a way to get rid of Fighting Fury Belt, not really a whole lot else can happen here. So he puts a Weakness Policy down. So that could definitely be a big deal, because that's going to stop us from being able to hit him for weakness and thus OHKOing his Mew. So we're going to do that, and you see he's going to get an Ultra Ball. He's going to discard a couple of cards there, a Flare Tool and an Ultra Ball. And maybe go for another Mew is my guess, or maybe a Jirachi here. Maybe try to, okay. Interesting to see he didn't Jirachi for a Zero Sick there. Probably would have been the play I would have made. Just thinking about that. Although if he does have 2 Jirachis in his discard pile, then It looks like he's Scrapper and Megaphone are both prized. Yikes. So we're going to see a Skyla come down instead. So yeah, I definitely would have tried a Jirachi here if that was the case. But if he did, I actually, now that I think about it, I believe he did discard both his Jirachis, so he does not have the 0-6 play, and that really hurts. Yep, saying they're both in the discard pile, and yep, there they are. So we're going to see a Pokemon catcher here, and a Tails flip. So we'll take 120 damage, but we're just going to proceed to win the game on the next turn. So, we've got Tool Scrapper right there. What a top deck. I mean, otherwise, basically, we just Hoopa, Jirachi, and then get that knockout. So we'll see if he wants to play a best 2 out of 3 here. This game was kind of, I don't know. And so he's down with that, so okay. So we'll definitely, so we'll be going to game 2 here in a moment. So we'll go ahead and take this knockout. And game 1 will go in the bag. In the books. So we'll go to game 2. Alright, so we're going here to game 2. And he gets to call regardless. So we're going to lose the coin flip, so he's going to get to choose. And he's going to have us go first. Okay. So, a little different decision here. So we're going to open with a Mew and a Hoopa and a pile of garbage. And as much as I love to use Hoopa, I've got 2 AZs in hand, so I'm thinking he's going to be the starter here. Let's see. God, I don't want to put a Mew out there right away. No, we're definitely going to put Hoopa. So trying to learn this deck on the fly. Fun stuff. God, I cannot imagine playing best of 1,001 with this stupid thing. We'll see what happens here. So he's going to open with a Shaman. And I guess Skyla here is going to be the play. So we can go right into the deck and try to pull something for next turn. And there's a lot of options really. We can go ahead and we can grab the Alesa, try and grab a bunch of Flare tools. I think that's going to be the play. See if he lays stuff down or not. And I'm going to hold on to that Dimension Valley, I think, for now. And just let him go ahead and play the game of chess. So he's going to put a Float Stone down on his Shaman. And let's see what else we get here. There's a Jamming Net onto our Hoopa. Yeah, that's fine. We got a pair of AZs just kind of waiting. So we see Battle Compressor. Let's see what he decides to discard. And so there's our 3 cards. Alright, so Juniper, Skyla, and AZ go to the discard, and he plays an N. So this hand is going to go back, and let's see what we end up with on the flip side. Okay, so we're going to get a Rayquaza and a Mew. We still got 2 AZs, Lucky Helmet, and then a Lysander. So we get an Ultra Ball off the top of the deck. So maybe you can play something along those lines. Let's see here. He just left his Shaman there, and only Shaman. So I don't really have a way to attack it. I guess I could Intensifying Burn for 60, but that would just leave us open to him retreating into a Mew and knocking us out. We would need Dimension Valley for that anyway. So let's see. If we Ultra Ball here. Let's see, what do we want? A Jirachi maybe, or Shaman. Yeah, we'll go ahead and grab the Shaman. Maybe we can draw a couple more cards and then AZ our Hoopa back up. So we'll go ahead and put Rayquaza down, get that out of our hand. And go ahead and do Shaman here for 3 cards. And so we get Tool Scrapper and 2 VS Seekers, hooray. I guess we can use that to take advantage of Skyla. Might not be a bad play. So let's do that. We could just pass our turns. I think we'll just go ahead and do that. I guess there's no point in really doing a whole lot now when we don't need to. Not really much to Skyla for at the moment. So we're going to see, he's going to play an Ultra Ball here. Throw Lucky Helmet, it looks like, and Hard Charm, okay. So he's going to grab Hoopa. And Hoopa's going to come out, and he's going to use Scoundrel Ring to bring some more stuff out. So let's see what he grabs. And it's going to be a Mew and a Rayquaza, so he's getting his board set. We'll see what comes down now. See Rayquaza hit the board. And what else we got here? I see a Headringer go on to our Rayquaza, and then we're going to see an N, so he's not going to put the Mew down, so probably smart, meaning the play wasn't quite in hand. So it's going to get another N, and so we're going to get our resources here. And now we got the Mew, and we've got the weakness policy, but so much tool removal, I'm not sure I want to be taking that chance right now. So we may realistically just play the N here and just send this hand back. There's not really a whole lot else we can do here, other than maybe VS Seeker for Skyla. Definitely a lot more nerve-wracking, a lot more, actually pretty skill-intensive when you compare this to a lot of the decks and the matchups that we have right now. So we're just going to N, and I don't know if that helped or not. Might have actually made things a little bit worse. We did get the Super Scoop up, but really not much point to playing it at the moment. Rather take some damage and then try to heal it off. So we'll just go ahead and pass our turn. Alright, so let's see if he does anything here. This honestly could turn into one of those games where we could just be seeing draw pass for a little while until something happens, and that's what he's going to do, draw and pass, and I guess we're just going to go ahead and do the same because we don't really have much. And we need to get the Mew, the Dimension Valley, and then try to hook up, maybe, let's see, we would need a way to get out of the active, so an AZ, or that Super Scoop up, and then a way to lay some damage down, and preferably also try to keep ourselves alive in the process, which we have the Hard Charm for. But we'd also probably need to play an N, which means we'd have to Float Stone something if the Super Scoop up didn't work, to try and drop his hand back. So we need a lot of pieces before we can do that. Sorry about that. Trying to regain my voice back here. So, yeah, once again, just passing the turn. Draw VS Seeker. I guess we could, if we wanted to end, we could, but that wouldn't really do much. So we can just go ahead and do this. And eventually he's going to have to do something because we've got more cards left in the deck than he does, so just kind of sit here and wait for that. If we don't get anything, eventually he's going to have to make a play. And it might even be easier that way, because if he does end us, after that, he still ends up giving us 6 cards to work with. So, while that might not be the same as all the cards we might be holding in hand if we keep draw pass, but still considered a full hand by most restraint, or by most in most situations here, having 6 in hand. And I don't think you'd want a hand with more than that going up against, especially with all this tool removal, could easily just 0-6 something and all that. And he's saying we better play the first Mew because he's not doing it. Well, I got news for you, dude. You got less cards in the deck than I do. So you're probably going to have to do it. So he's going to go ahead and just pass again. So it looks like this is just going to kind of go on for a little bit. So we could VS Seeker and Skyla for the Dimension Valley here if we wanted to, but I think we're just trying to keep our number of cards at least equal to his, if not higher, so that on our turn, so that when he draws, he ends up with with fewer cards left in his deck. So see that here, he just draws again, not really a whole lot else. We're going to see an Elesa, okay, so we're going to see a play. And let's see what he grabs. Let's see maybe some Team Flare tools. Instead we see a Float Stone, a Life Dew, and a Weakness Policy. 3 cards that... Okay, and then he goes ahead and passes. So we draw the Mew. So we don't need to Ultra Ball now. So we get the Mew. We've got the Jirachi to get a supporter if we need it. And... Alrighty. Just go ahead and... I'm guessing he's just going to pass again here. And instead we see an Ultra Ball. Okay, so he's going to discard a Rayquaza and an Ultra Ball and go pull a Mew from the deck. Question is he going to play it? Because I guess it's really just going to depend on what he's got if he wants to put that down. Instead he's just going to pass turn, so maybe thinning the deck a little bit to try and get all the stuff he wants to get in order to end us down. He does have that Float Stone, which we haven't done anything about. And we could make him burn a turn by trying to zero-sick that off of there, and then maybe putting that or jamming that on his Shaman. So he's just going to continue to pass. We're going to draw another Juniper, just continue to pass our turn right back. Again, plays we could make, but you know, it all comes down to exactly how necessary are they. We can just keep passing the turn and basically bait him into putting his Mew EX down first. So we draw another AZ, that's not too big a deal. Just continue to pass the turn. Eventually this is all going to get end back into the deck anyway. So we see weakness policy. Just continue our next. Get a Tool Scrapper. It's not really too much. Just draw pass, draw pass, draw pass for now. Someone's eventually going to have to hit something. If nothing else, I mean, he would be the one to deck out first. We'll just get another Jirachi here. There's got to be something here sooner or later. Eventually the Mew combo's got to hit the table. So we're going to see a weakness policy. He puts down a Mew and he puts the weakness policy on it. There's the Dimension Valley. So he can go ahead and retreat now. So there's the N. Yep. Alright. So all of these cards are going back into the deck. Try and limit us to a 6-card hand to try and come back at him. Now we do have a jamming net, so we are going to need to do something about that. And that might not be in the cards right now. That could actually be a bit of a problem when you consider the fact that we would need to AZ, but we do have the Mew. So if we can Jirachi here, we could AZ up our Hoopa there. And then the problem there then being is that he has a weakness policy attached, and thus we would not be knocking him out, and then he would return with the KO. So eventually he had to get his cards set, and so we can go ahead and grab Jirachi anyway. But we're going to have to wait an additional turn, and the problem here being that something else is going to have to come up that, once again, is not going to be able to jump back to the bench for free. So we can AZ, we can get Hoopa back. Now Hoopa will allow us to search for the other Jirachi, which can maybe get us something going. So we can just go ahead and bring something up front now. Do we want to sponge a little bit? Jirachi also has that psychic resistance that's awfully nice to have in this situation. So I guess we'll go ahead and bring him up. And we got a head ringer here. I'm not too sure if I want to play that right now. I think I'm just going to go ahead and just kind of look at the board state, pass the turn. See what's going on here. So like I said, Hoopa can get us a second Jirachi EX on our turn. So we're going to see an intensifying burn here for 40 damage after resistance. So we draw a Rayquaza. That's not too useful. So we can go ahead and play the 0-sick here, or we could go for the AZ again. Although we can take another hit, another 40 damage here, so we could 0-sick that off of there. And then throw a head ringer onto his Mew in its place. And then we can just wait till next turn, Hoopa, Jirachi, and pull for the... oh, we got the Tool Scrapper. Well, as long as he doesn't have the Fighting Fury Belt, we should be okay. And, of course, go figure, the one of Fighting Fury Belt comes down, and that's going to knock us out. Talk about rotten luck. Just holding cards in hand. So we see a second Mew come down. And so there's the attack. That's going to knock our Jirachi out and put us down significantly here. That 2 prizes might not seem like much. We'll go ahead and bring the Rayquaza up. That was probably a misplay. But, oh, we'll see. Can't put a Float Stone on it if it has a Flare Tool sitting there. But we can go and get the other Jirachi EX here. So let's see, Hoopa can get us Jirachi. I'm going to try to do something here. Not having a double out is definitely kind of stinks, so we'll just go ahead and grab everything. Help thin the deck out at this point, I think. And then we can search a supporter and try to get ourselves out of this mess. Realistically, need to have a 0-stick and an AZ right here. And that's not going to happen right now unless we get pretty lucky with our top decks. So we can go ahead and throw Jirachi down and see which one we want to search for here. And just kind of take a look at what we got. And, I guess if we hadn't grabbed those other Mews, we could get the Juniper. That might be the better idea. We'll go ahead and get the AZ since we have all of our Mews in hand. And we'll go ahead and wait. Since we don't have a Floatstone, there's no point in just AZing right now. Especially when this thing can take a couple of hits. So we see him play a Jirachi down. Let's see if he goes for maybe a Lysander here. Something of that sort. Or maybe just a Professor Juniper or a Skyla just to kind of set up for later. And so he grabs an AZ. So I guess maybe in the event of a Lysander, just being able to kind of get something out of there. So we take 70 damage from Intensifying Burn. And we draw Life Dew, so that's an interesting card to have too. Definitely help us out. So we can put a Mew down and we could Life Dew. Still would not be getting the knockout, whereas we would then just get return KO'd. So I think right now that's going to be the difference between why we do and don't play something here, is we have got to be able to get that knockout. So Rayquaza can take another hit here, take another 70 damage, and we'll see here. And there's a Floatstone, so that's actually, if we had brought the Shaman up, well, it would have got knocked out, so I guess it wouldn't have really been too big of a difference. So we can do that, and we can bring something else up here, and eventually Floatstone it, because we have got to come up with a way to get that silly Fighting Fury Belt off of there. So we can Floatstone later on. There's our Rayquaza. I can throw that back onto the bench. It's a little bigger sponge. And I guess what are the odds that we get hit with a Flare Tool? This deck runs quite a few of them, so we got the Life Dew, but we're just going to kind of let that slide for now. Because he's got 2 Mews on his board, and they ain't looking too friendly. So we're going to take 70 damage. We'll be able to Float Retreat now, and there's a Skyla. So we can get a Tool Scrapper or a Startling Megaphone here. Go ahead and grab a Megaphone. Scrapper could be more useful, I guess, if we encounter a Flare Tool and need to get rid of it. So that will get us what we need. So we can turn around and Megaphone away those Pokemon tools, and then put a Mew down. Use Floatstone onto our onto our Shaman. Put Life Dew on the Mew so it only gives up 1 prize card. And then we can go ahead and put another Mew down as well, and use Intensifying Burn to knock this one out. And hopefully he doesn't discard our Life Dew. So we get Skyla and Dimension Valley off the prizes. I guess Skyla here can be pretty useful. So he's got quite a few cards in his hand, so hopefully he does not have a way to discard our tools right now, but gotta say the odds are probably more likely that he does. And we do see a Startling Megaphone, so we lose our Floatstone as well. We see another Mew come down, a Head Ringer onto our benched Mew. Ugh, that stinks. And a Weakness Policy, so we're gonna see some big damage there. So we really needed Skyla here for the Tool Scrapper, and also top deck something that will keep our Mew from dying at the hands of his on our turn, on his next turn. Because otherwise we just pretty much lose this game. So we draw VS Seeker. That's not going to do it. We really needed a Pokemon Tool there. Or we could draw the Tool Scrapper and Skyla for the Pokemon Tool, I guess. Either way would work. But that is not something that is going to be happening right now, so I guess we could Skyla for the Scrapper, try to get rid of the Flare Tool and the Weakness Policy, but realistically not a whole lot's going to really go over there. So there's the Scrapper, so we can at least try to push for another knockout before we get taken to Game 3 here. So we can just knock these both off of here. And go ahead and... might as well. I mean, we would anyway. Intensifying burn. But he's just going to bring up the other one. You know, where's that Hex Maniac when you need it? Can't play supporters all day. So he's just going to bring up that Mew, and that's going to be the game. So we're going to game 3. And on to game 3. So he played an Eco Arm here. So send some stuff back into the deck. I guess just because for fun, you know, it's like, hey, I can play an Eco Arm, and then knocks us out. So that's game 2, and game 2 goes to Daniel Altavilla. So on to game 3 we go. Alrighty, so we're gonna go first this time. So we're gonna call it coin flip, and I guess if we lose it, he's got to let us, or actually go second. I'm sorry, I told him I wanted to go second. Alright, so he's gonna have to go first. So there we go. Alright. So we'll shuffle up, and so we're going to get Hoopa as our starting base, but what the heck am I looking at? Ugh. This is not a good hand. This is one of those deals where you just, oops, my internet died. No, I don't want to be that guy. So, he's going to play a Skyla. He's got Rayquaza as his starting active Pokemon. And let's see what we see here. Skyla for an AZ. Okay. And we see passing the turn. So we draw a second Jamming Net. So we got really a whole bunch of nothing here. We could Alesa, but I'm not sure that we'd get anything worthwhile out of it. Just go ahead and pass the turn. Not really too concerned about putting Jamming Net onto Shaman. So once again, the draw pass just kind of commences early on. So we're just going to see a whole bunch of that probably to start off. So I do apologize if that gets a bit boring, if it's just a bunch of draw pass, draw pass, draw pass. Just kind of maintaining what we've got here until someone inevitably gets all of the cards. And at some point, it's just like in poker, someone's got to be holding all the cards once in a while, and hopefully this time, last game that was him, hopefully this game it'll be us. So turn gets passed again, catcher. Ugh. So we've got the N, we've got the float stone. I'd consider laying it down, but I really don't want to watch it get 0-6. So we draw the Mew, but we still don't have a Dimension Valley, so still missing a little bit. We do have the Fighting Fury belt, however, worth noting that. So we'll see what happens here. And he's going to play a Skyla here, too, or something. If we had Skyla, we could go grab the the Dimension Valley, and that's exactly what he's going to grab. So maybe he'll play it for us. And nope, probably not. Okay, so we're going to our Battle Compressor. So that's going to we can actually go and get the Dimension Valley here. We could Battle Compressor away a Skyla, and then simply VS Seeker to get it back and go grab the Dimension Valley for ourselves. And then next turn we would have the play. So let's go ahead and do that. I'll compress the lone Skyla, and then VS Seeker to get it back. And we can go ahead and use it to take advantage of the rest of the cards in our hand. Grab Dimension Valley, and then we'll be set up next turn. And actually probably could have done it this turn now that I look at it. It's kind of silly. So we're going to see a VS Seeker here. He's going to grab Skyla again. So we'll see Skyla come down and grab a Weakness Policy. So now he's got his Pokemon Tool card to work with. So we draw a 0-6. So now I guess the question is, do we want to just go ahead and throw the Jamming Net onto that Rayquaza, or do we just want to let him end us? Because again, even though it didn't work out so well last time, he is going to give us 6 cards, and he's not going to end up getting a knockout. So realistically, we can still draw into this pretty well. So we go ahead and play the Alesa here. Get the weakness policy out of our deck as well. We do have the Fighting Fury Belt, but sometimes, you know, just having that second card might not be too bad of an idea. So I guess how conservative do we want to stay here? Do we want to force him to play the first Mew? Or do we just want to go ahead and try to lay in an attack here, maybe with a combination of that and a jamming net? We can play the Float Stone. So we'll go ahead and lay that down at the very least, so that after we take a hit, we're just going to go ahead and let him go. Just take the N, and get the free retreat onto our Hoopa, knowing that he does not have the ability to zero sick if he wants to N us. So we do see the Dimension Valley, the Mew, the Weakness Policy, and the Float Stone. Probably should have laid the Jamming Net down. And so we're going to see an N here, and then presumably a retreat into an attack for 120 damage. So it won't be a knockout, which is okay. And, oh wow, he ended us into a pretty darn good hand. So we've got the Mew, the Megaphone, can copy his Rayquaza's attack. Floatstone is already attached to our Hoopa. So we got a lot of stuff here. Go ahead and throw the Mew down. Play the Startling Megaphone. Knock both of those Pokemon tools off there. Throw a Jamming Net onto his Rayquaza since we're going to knock out his Mew. Put the Life Dew down on our Mew. And then use Shaman to draw 4 additional cards. Not that that's going to help us much right now with what we got, but maybe next turn. So we'll go ahead and Intensifying Burn for the knockout here and take an early lead. And that is huge in this mirror match, just being able to do that. So we get the Weakness Policy and another Mew, so pretty much gift wrapped handed to us right there. That's pretty darn good. So he brings up his Rayquaza, which of course has the Jamming Net attached to it. And see if he's able to do anything here. Because if he doesn't have another attack, then obviously I don't think we're going to see another Mew here, which means we'll just be attacking Rayquaza until he inevitably AZs it back into his hand. So instead we see Hoopa, and Hoopa's going to go pull some shenanigans now. Probably search for Jirachi. Wouldn't mind searching for another Mew. Okay, he's going to get Shaman as well, so he's going to get the whole bucket load there. So Mew does come down onto the board. And Jirachi will be able to go and get an AZ. So he will be able to knock us out, but at only getting 1 prize, that's definitely very, very relevant there. So we see an AZ, so brings Rayquaza back to his hand, drops the Jamming Net. He'll have to put his Rayquaza back down. So he puts a Lucky Helmet down. So he can draw some extra cards off that, but that's about it. It's not going to stop us from one-shotting. And we have Mew with Weakness Policy just ready and waiting to go on our floating Hoopa there. So we're going to get knocked out, but it'll only yield 1 prize. So in a deck that in a matchup where there is nothing but EXs, that is really an irrelevant knockout other than the fact that we lose a Mew from our count, which shouldn't be too big of a deal. So we can put Weakness Policy on this Mew, proceed to retreat, and go ahead and Intensifying Burn here for a knockout. He'll get 2 cards off the Lucky Helmet, but we will get 2 more prize cards, dropping us all the way down to 2 prize cards. And now we really just want to hope that he doesn't hit us with an N right here, which, with all those cards in his hand, let's face it, that's probably going to happen. So he's going to go ahead and throw another Mew down. Fighting Fury Belt, ugh. And so, yep, we see the VS Seeker for the N, undoubtedly. And so we're about to get dropped all the way down to 2 cards in hand. So we see a Jamming Net go onto our Shaman, so we won't be able to Float Stone it. Do, however, still have the Float Stone sitting on our Hoopa. So we can go ahead and he plays Buddy Buddy, so we get Mew back. And he does as well. So I guess that's 1 more card that'll end up back in the deck that isn't Professor Juniper or whatever we might need. So all that stuff goes back. We get a measly 2 cards. Oh geez, what on earth are we looking at there? So we're gonna see a Super Scoop Up, fails. So Shaman's gonna draw 3 cards here. And see if he gets the float stone. Or maybe if Jirachi... Oh, and he gets the startling megaphone. So jamming that now is going to come down onto our Jirachi, or onto our Mew, but that's going to be it. So we're going to get a head ringer here. So let's see. Not really a whole lot we can do with what we've got here. I guess we could attack for what's going to be 20 damage after resistance and jamming that, so we'll just go ahead and do that. And hopefully things will work out. So we see him playing Elesa, so we can go and get some more Pokemon tools here. We do not have the end to really get rid of that. But you can get the Float Stone out of his deck. Also post Jamming Net and Life Dew. So we see a Float Stone go onto the Jirachi, and that can turn into Mew coming into the active, and that turns into a big fat knockout. And that Fighting Fury Belt is going to cause us problems. So we'll go ahead and just bring the Shaman up, since that can actually take a hit. And we've got VS Seeker going on here, but I don't think we have a Juniper, so we're probably going to have to Skyla with it. Definitely go ahead and try to do something here. Let's see. We're gonna look at Lucky Helmet. Since he can't take us out in one shot, Lucky Helmet can grant us a couple more cards off of the Skyla, or off of that attack before we play this Professor Juniper here. So we're gonna go ahead and get that, set that up for next turn, and of course, just not having that Float Stone on Hoopa just kind of making us have to do something else, but I'd rather not attach something else and kind of lock ourselves down. I guess we can go ahead and throw Headringer onto Rayquaza just because, if anything else, just to keep it from having a Float Stone. So he'll take his turn, and hopefully we don't see a Lysander right into that Hoopa, because that would definitely take the game state and do a bit of a different place. So we want to try to force a 70 damage attack here, what would be, and then that would allow us to draw 2 more, and we do see the Lysander. So go figure. So our Hoopa is going to get knocked out. So down he goes. So Shaman will go back into the active, and now this game is starting to get interesting. He's kind of crawled back from the depths of nowhere with only having 1 prize left. We'll play our Juniper here. And, we really didn't hit much. So we can buddy for a Mew. Might just want to wait until we can do that with a little more authority. He doesn't have another Mew on his bench, so realistically we need to try and hit some way of form of tool removal. We missed the Zero Sick here. So, play Compressor. I'm not really too worried about Eco Arm right now. And get rid of one of the 0-6 so we can VS for it potentially. I think that'll be good. And see if we can maybe play that Pokemon Catcher, try to stall him, although I don't think right now. I don't know, right now it's kind of seems like maybe we should hold on to it. See the discard pile here. Okay, yada yada. Okay. So, do we want to go for that right now? Try to bring his Hoopa up, see if we can't stall him a little bit. Try to set something up and maybe get a Lysander play. Go ahead and try it. Nope, that's not working. Alrighty. Well, at that point, I mean, I don't really know if we want to do the buddy just yet. Don't want him to see too much coming, so we'll just pass our turn. Probably should have just held on to that catcher in all reality. Although the Tails flip is, if it's going to be Tails, it's going to be Tails. I guess it may be better that we know that then. So we'll just leave Shaman there and draw a couple of cards off his Lucky Helmet when he takes a hit here. And we need to hit an AZ. So we're going to see him play a Battle Compressor again. Drop some cards down. Alright, so a couple of Ultra Balls go in the discard pile, it looks like. See another Battle Compressor. So thinning out that deck, and if he's getting ready to play another N, that could be bad news. trying to get some stuff out of the discard or out of the deck that you maybe doesn't want to be drawing. And so we see an Ultra Ball here. So discard Rayquaza. See if he searches anything. Looks like just failing the search. And there is the end. Yep. So that's going to drop him to 1 and me to 2. So if I can get rid of this Mew that's active, I should be okay. We get a Skyla and a Juniper. Pretty darn good draws. And so we hit Jirachi and we hit Rayquaza there. We get Fighting Fury Belt. So options are here, but we need priority 1. We need to get this thing out of the active spot. Because otherwise it's going to get KO'd and we're going to lose this game. So, let's see. Not exactly the 2 cards we wanted to draw. The Jirachi certainly isn't bad, but we need to find a way to get it out. And having to rely on a coin flip could be a little rough here, but after having such a big lead, N has definitely changed the tide of this game. And so we'll Jirachi here. We'll grab the AZ that we need. And we'll go ahead and bring Shaman back to our hand. Jirachi goes up front. We can bench Rayquaza and then bench Shaman, try to draw some cards here. We can also play the Fighting Fury Belt. Get a little extra HP on there so we don't get 2-shotted. And try to draw a few more cards. Okay, and so we could now try to draw into... Okay, yeah, so we get Ultra Ball for the Mew next turn. But we need to be able to get another AZ or Super Scoop Up to get Jirachi out of there. So we see a 50 damage attack come down. And we draw an N. So we could Jirachi here or Skyla to pull the AZ from the deck. And so we get Ultra Ball for the Mew. So that's there. That's all set. So I'm thinking we're probably going to want a Jirachi for an AZ here. Skyla for God knows what. Get some way to get rid of Pokemon Tool. Let's see what we got here. Alright, so we can Ultra Ball maybe. Get the Mew. Toss the Juniper and the Dimension Valley. Not too worried about that. So, got the Mews and got the Rayquaza here. Yeah, this is pretty stressful. I agree with him there. Alright, so let's see what we got here. We can really got the option with the Skyla and the Jirachi here. Kind of do either move this turn and then just next turn try to finish it off. So we can go ahead and play the Skyla, I guess. We'll do that. And there's the Tool Scrapper right there that we need. Go through here, just kind of look at some of it, but we're going to eventually end up needing that because Jirachi's going to net us the AZ on our turn, so we're going to be able to take one more hit here thanks to that Fighting Fury Belt. And oh, we had the 0-sick. Well, that's the game. Alrighty, well, Daniel Altavilla wins this mirror match. So, fortunately that doesn't destroy all the Heretic beasts. But, in any case, that was quite an intense match we had there. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I look forward to doing more material for you guys here soon. I know Xander Bennett wrote a sequel, or a part 2 of the story, so maybe I'll take a look at that here pretty soon. Definitely interested in more of these. Anyway, I'll see you guys next time. Cheers!